Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti.
And don't you just love how I brought in our studio audience today? Those are my friends and family, y'all. They're here to clap it up and celebrate this great girlfriend magic that is happening here on the show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy.
Hey, and happy summer, great girlfriends. I hope y'all are having the best time ever. I am literally living my absolute positively best life here on the West Coast. I'm so happy.
I'm so jealous.
Don't be jealous, girl. Get out here and get in the sun with me.
You know, I love me some sun, and I'm going to really be calling you and crying when the winter comes here.
Oh my gosh. I unpacked some coats, Atoya, and I was like, what am I doing with these heavy coats? What is going to happen with these? So I got to figure out, am I selling these or storage? I don't have a plan yet. I got to consult with people. What do they do with their coats? Because I will never use it out here.
Yeah. And you know what? When you decide that you need them again, you'll get another one.
I'll get a fresh one. Exactly.
You won't even remember where they are. You're like, where did I put those coats?
Yes. New one. Okay, great girlfriends. I am back with my sister friend, Atoya Burleson, and I'm so excited. If you heard our conversation last week, we talked about choosing you. She and I are both on our self-love tours, and being wives and moms and businesswomen and wearing a bunch of hats. And we talked about in 2020 how we wore all the hats. I mean, you wear them, but you wear them different when you're not in quarantine. Let's just keep it 100. And
Real
so,
talk.
right. So now we're in the middle of redefining what it means to show up for ourselves. But also, you know, we're talking about things that we wish we had known, that we didn't know, that we're learning along the way. And I'm excited about this one topic because we're going to talk about marriage today.
Yes.
And Atoya is a happily married wife, and she has a fantastic husband, and I'm a happily married wife, but we both know that is not like, it takes all the work in the world to be where we're sitting today, right? Amen.
Amen and amen.
It takes all the work in the world. It takes all the intention. And not every day is a happy day, right? Not every day is a perfect day. There's grace for this thing. But I wanted us to talk about things that we wish we had known or things we wish we had learned in the early stages pre-marriage, because Atoya, we get so many DMs about women who are dating and look at her face. If you can see her face, great girlfriends, and all the expectations that come along with, you know, if only we could just be us. And then the prince comes and he picks us up and he takes us off on the chariot and we get to remain our perfect selves. And then life is happily ever after. And they get into relationships and they're like, this is work. No one ever said it was work. I'm like, we totally told you it was work, but you totally weren't listening because you were in bliss.
Yes. Real talk. You didn't want to hear any of that. You're like, I'm not you. Yes,
that's not absolutely. My man. We gonna be different. You know, all the things, right?
Call me in a few years.
Right. So if I could save a sister or two or three, I will, by just giving more tidbits. And we've talked about marriage and love on the podcast many times before. We talked about love not being a fairy tale. We talked about what love is. We've gone through the comb through the topic a bit more, but I wanted us, Atoya, to kind of go and dissect a bit about our marriages and some of the things that we wish we had known or would have rewritten if we could have back in the day. So I want to start, Atoya, with you defining your marriage. Tell us about your marriage. Tell us what it is, what you and Nate have established, and you know, who are the Burlesons?
Gosh, we are a lot. That's what I'll start with. We are a lot. You know, I met Nate. We were both in college, so we were babies. We were young. We just knew, you know, hanging out, having a good time, enjoying each other's company. Yeah. And I would say that is the core to who we are. Like, we love to hang out. We love to have a good time and enjoy each other or do something fun together. That's kind of how we met. And that's kind of how I like to keep that. But I would also say that I am more of the planner and I like to have my ducks in a row. And Nate is more like, go with the winds. He's more of the, whatever. Okay, that's fine. He'll chime in here and there, but honestly, he does so much that he feels like, okay, you got it. So that's how we've kind of worked forever. And that's how we still work for the most part. I would also say that for us, we both grew up in the church, and that is a lot of our foundation. It's kept us, sometimes I had to go pray. Okay. I had to go pray. Lord, help me, Lord. And it's helpful because sometimes, let me just start with one thing that I learned. I remember someone saying this a long time ago. I didn't really get it. Just a simple agree to disagree, right? I never really understood what that meant until I had to learn it, right? So like for me, I thought like, okay, we disagree on this. So we're gonna have to sit and we're gonna talk about it until we figure it out, right?
Yes.
And sometimes there's nothing to figure out. You're just two people with two different opinions, and that's okay, right? So I had to learn to agree to disagree. And a lot of that is my planning mind, because like things have to make sense and, blah, 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 blah. But I learned to take a step back and allow him to feel the way he feels. And just because we're married and just because we're one does not mean all of our opinions have to match and we have to agree on every single thing, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I think, a big learning curve for me.
Yeah.
And I would say we, if you were to think about like something else, I would say we try to always do a date night every week. That is like us to a core, because like I said, I knew him when I was in college, right? We were both babies, and then you get married and then you have kids and careers and all these things happen. And through that lifespan, people change, life changes. Indeed. So it's like, when you think about that, a person is going to change. You don't want anyone to stay the same. I don't want to be the same immature person I was back in my 20s, now in my 40s, right? So you're supposed to change, and that's a good thing, but you have to check in. You have to constantly check in weekly and say, how you doing? How you feeling this week? I was thinking about this. What were you thinking about? What are you feeling? And even when you're on date night, like I try to ask simple questions like, what would you say I could work on?
That's so good. Yeah.
What did you think about this?
And be prepared for the answer too, right?
And be prepared, because, I want to be aware that sometimes a lot of people, no one purposely that you love purposely tries to hurt you, right?
Right.
Or they don't purposely try to do something to offend you or get under your skin, but sometimes it happens. Let's just be clear.
Yes.
So in saying that, you have to remember that, and you have to have those conversations and talk about things in a way that the other person's able to receive it. But before you talk about it, I'm going to tell y'all, you got to sleep on it, okay? If it's something that it's a real conversation, sleep on it before you talk about it. Because if it comes out like me, if it comes out right away, it may not always be nice.
Are you the not nice one?
No, it's not a nice way. Like, it's like, why didn't you take out the trash?
Oh yeah, they quick flirt like, uh-oh. Yeah.
And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, that sounded different in my head than how it came out, right?
Yeah.
And so like now I have to be like, Nate, you forgot to take out the trash. It's just your tone, like just being aware of certain things that you do that in the mix of moving, you're like, why did you take out the trash? Like, and you have to be like, okay, let me rewind back and like figure out a way to say something where the other person's able to receive it. So, and then Nate's the opposite of me. So Nate's super laid back. So he has to learn sometimes to step it up. Or like be not just in the room, but be a part of what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
Don't just be there watching TV or be there on your phone, but have a conversation, talk, communicate. These are the things our kids are going to pick up on. So we are literally on like opposite scales, but I think that's why we balance each other in that sense. And, even though I tell him to pick it up, sometimes he has to tell me to slow it down. Like, sit down somewhere. That's his favorite. Sit down somewhere.
That's so good.
That's kind of the Burlesons in a nutshell.
How long have you all been married?
We have been married now for 18 years.
18, Atoya. Oh my God.
Yeah, we were babies. We didn't know what we were doing. But, we figured it out. We were a team. We love each other. And as long as I know someone has my back, I'm going to give my all, and vice versa. Nate's the same. So, yeah.
When you got married, what did you want?
Gosh, what did I want?
Or what, if you could look at it now, what was young Atoya? Not young Atoya, because Atoya is still young and fine. What what was 20-something-year-old Atoya? What did she want? What do you think she wanted when she got married?
Ooh, that's a great question. I just wanted somebody that I could roll with, my road dog. And that to me is what Nate was. We loved kicking it. Like when Nate and I met, he played football in college and I ran track, but he didn't play football his first year. So he would come to all my meets and support me. Like, we would go on little weekends and kind of travel around when we could. Like we just hung, and I love that. And I love the building of that. It started then. So the foundation was already slowly setting, but it just, because we had such a good friendship and we learned to grow, I feel like together.
Yeah.
It kind of helped kind of solidify what we were going to be about when we got married. So I say when we got married, I wanted more of that. Like we both always talked about traveling. We couldn't wait to travel one day. Obviously we can't travel as much now because we have kids, but we do try to get our once a year a couples vacation in together. We try to do a family one. We love to like think about like things later. Like, I want to do this later in life. I want to do this and kind of circle back. But that was kind of more of who we were. Like I think I wanted someone that I could build and have fun with. I didn't know what that entailed at the time.
Yeah.
But I knew there was a whole world out there and I needed somebody to go with me.
Yes. Yeah. I know it's out there and we're going into it, but I need somebody that's going to be side by side or ahead sometimes, or just with me.
You're going to catch me, right? You're going to catch me when I fall, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, yes. You want somebody back there that's like, got you. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. And I think over the 18 years, I'm sure your rhythm has developed and been groomed over the course of all the evolutions, because you all have moved a lot, career changes. Well, Nate's career has been a longstanding football career, and then you've changed cities so many times and then added kids, and you were homeschooling. You did that. You've done a number of things in the middle of that. So how did you continue to build new rhythm? I know you mentioned checking in, but like, did the check-ins ever get to a point where you're like, we need to check in now?
Yeah. I mean, there's always those, people throwing the wrenches in, right? So like, me deciding to homeschool was never a plan. I was, even though I have a education background, I didn't intend to do that with my own children. Let's be clear. Right. But it happened that way. I feel like because my husband did play in multiple states in the NFL, we kind of traveled back and forth. Curriculums were different between schools. God. And there was just this moment where, as an emergency situation, you're like, time out. We need to reevaluate this. I don't know if he's ready for high school yet. We need to really sit down, hone in, and make sure we give him the tools needed so that when he goes to high school, he feels confident. Yeah. We had moved so much and that was a disservice to him, right? And so in recognizing that, I'm like, what can I do to fix it? Yeah. And so I just told him, so I looked at different schools and I'm like, I don't want to put him in another school with different friends. And then he's just, he's done enough of that. And so I talked to him about, hey, how do you feel about me homeschooling you? And I think, to be honest, he thought like, oh, I could just stay at home and my mom's going to teach me. This is going to be easy. But he didn't know about my background. So let's just say the first few months were hard and difficult for him. But once he realized that I was not changing and this is how it was going to be and there were going to be grades, he was like, okay. And I felt like, and he even told me when he went into high school, he's at an all boys Catholic school and, they take all their tests and, he was so confident. He was so proud that he did so well in his tests. And he was like, thank you so much for like pushing me and making me do things that I really didn't want to do, that I didn't think I could do. And he's like, now I realize like school can be easy. Like I can do these things. I just needed someone to show me like that I could do it. And
I love that.
Yeah. So that was definitely a last minute decision. I was ordering books. They came within like the matter of weeks and we were like at it. So I would say that there's definitely those moments where things just happen in real time and you can't plan and you have to be okay with that. But as long as my baby was good, I was happy. So
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I try to, when I think back over what I wanted when I got married, you know, I tell you, I can't say that I knew what I wanted more than I knew I wanted life with Kwaku. Like I had decided by the time we dated 3.5 years before we got married, and the first 1.5 years was a disaster in my eyes. Whoa, because he dumped me 3 times. Never goes according to plan. The nerve of him. But it happened, you know, all the things, right? But I was learning a lot, and I was learning to trust. I was learning to share space with a person, because remember, I had started my self-love tour. You know, after I had gone through sexual assault and depression and came on the other side of it and felt so good about me, and like God and we were kicking it so hard, and I was just free. I was very, very weary of people invading my space, because I was like, are you coming to disrupt this good party that's happening over here?
Don't mess this up.
Don't mess this up. Groove. This is good. I'm having a good time over here. And if you're not going to enjoy me, then we're not going to work. Like I realized that, because I had learned to enjoy myself. Like Sybil enjoy Sybil. Kwaku didn't enjoy me initially. Kwaku wanted more of me than I knew I could offer. I didn't know I had more. I thought what I had was enough, and he kept pulling, and I was like, you got all of it. If you don't like this portion, sir, you're not getting more. But I also know that Kwaku has been assigned to help me blossom. Like he has been, God has assigned Kwaku as a safe space for me to grow, to develop, to bloom. And I didn't see that at the time, because I thought I was good with me, and I had been through so many broken places that I didn't want to open that up. And I did not realize that I was withholding love. I didn't know it, or connection. I didn't know that. I thought I was giving this man enough, and he needed to just take his portion or leave. And he was like, no, he was really trying to unlock more, because he was speaking this marriage and family game. And I was like, we should just date. Dating is good. We're good. And I didn't understand. So I knew that I knew one thing I knew for sure was that by the time he proposed, I was willing. He made me so curious about what else could be, that I was like, I want to have life with this man. And by the time he proposed, she who wanted no kids, no husband, she who was like, I'm here in New York, living this New York life, sir. So that's not on my list. I'm good. She wanted kids. I was like, I want to have his children. I just had never met anybody who qualified as a father, you know, to my kids.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. You know, I'm 3 years older than Nate. So that's how I felt. Like by the time I met Nate, I'm like, you're how old? Oh no, I'm not talking to you, because guys your age do not have it together. Okay.
Yes,
so I feel you when you say like you would dismiss that whole side because you couldn't find people that even brought that into a conversation. Dating was hard enough, right?
Yes. All of that was hard. So I'm like, I'm good. But I realized by the time that he proposed, I'm not going to say he was grooming me. That's not the right word. But I am going to say he had, like, all the petals were open. Like there was a next level of Sybil who wanted to be a wife, who wanted to open up new chapters of life, who didn't want to just close the book and just stay single in New York City. Like I really wanted to explore. My curiosity was at peak point, and I was ready to say, what else could be, what else? And that's like, beautiful. We've been on that forever. What else is in there? And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that Kwaku has been so patient and gracious with me in that evolution, and I with him, that we decided to be a team together, because I would never trade him. I would never trade my kids. I wouldn't trade our experiences, even the lows, the highs, because I'm still with my team captain. Like we're still there together. And I think I wish, if I had to say what I wish I knew before I got married, I would say, I wish that I would have known to not withhold love and to be open at the beginning of the process, to give my all, knowing that God was going to shield me from anything that wasn't for me. And I think, you know, knowing that now, and looking at the way Dylan is able to love so liberally because she's just pure femininity, right? Like she hasn't had these, she's been in a safe space. She's loved. All the men in her life have protected her. She's never, so I look at that freedom she has, and it has unleashed another freedom in me because I feel safe. So I wish I had known that. I wish I had known to not come into a relationship withholding or restricting love, come in with abounding love, and then measure as I need to measure if things change, but giving from a liberal place.
Yeah.
And
that's hard to do, when you go through things in your life, it's hard to do. And so, but I think also with you not being that way and Kwaku showing you that you could, it made you appreciate it so much more.
That is so true. It's true. It's true. I would say I was able to see and understand his loyalty and his love in a different way because we worked through kinks. He would work through the kinks, and he is very present in the kinks. And I would be like, oh, that's a kink. Let's throw that out. Kwaku would be like, wait a minute.
We can fix that kink. Don't throw that out.
Yes. And I'm like, that's the end of that. We done. I was just like, well, this was fun. Let's exit. And he's like, no. Where are you going? We got a relationship. Like, we do? What's happening? So
I love that.
Yeah. And I think if I could offer to great girlfriends, like the importance of seeing your partner or even wanting to imagine that partner of yours is your team. You're fighting for something that you want to stay in, not an exit. Because I think so many times women are looking, they go, oh, well, maybe it's not. But what I realized in my marriage is that we spend our time, if we do have conflict, if we do disagree, we're fighting for what we believe we should have together, not for what we knew would never be because it wasn't meant to be. Like we're not going, oh, that's the inevitable. Divorce is next. We're going, no, marriage is next. So how do we stay in this and work through it?
It's so good because I feel like now people are quick to throw in the towel. They're like, whoop, done. You're like, wait, that
girl.
People are human, right? They're going to make mistakes.
Like, how do we get to be human and then think our partner is like, now you're going to be a robot. I'm going to be a human. And that's how this is. I'm perfect. And like, how does that work? But I think that's the thing about expectation is that in marriage, you cannot place all the expectation on your partner and then leave your plate empty for opportunity. You have to be willing to put expectation in your plate as well.
Yes. We were just talking about this. That's so funny.
Really?
Just talking about it. Yeah.
I see the blink in your eyes like, yep, that came up.
Yes. We were literally just talking about expectation and how our expectations are different and you have to be, open to others' expectations, just like, you expect certain. We literally were just talking about this. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's a real thing.
Atoya, what is one thing that you use as a tool in your marriage when you get to a place where you realize maybe you guys need to pivot, you need to adjust things, or you want to sustain something? Like, what is a tool that you use to either keep you guys high or keep you from getting too low? I know you mentioned the date nights, but what's another tool that's in your arsenal? Because 18 years is that's goals.
Yeah. I think for me, I've learned not to take everything so personal. And that's not necessarily just marriage, but that's in general. I just feel like when you're younger, things bother you more, and but as you get older, like I was just talking about with Nate, he's not here to purposely hurt my feelings, right?
Right.
And so not to always take things so personal and just try to see from the outside looking in, try to see it from the girlfriend that you're about to call, that you want that advice from, or, try to see, or even talk to them and allow them to speak to you from their perspective and you realize maybe I did overreact. I shouldn't be so offended there, but I would definitely say that slow down and not be so quick to react.
Yeah.
And not to take things so personal would be something that to be honest, I learned it over time. There's no quick fix. You learn that life is going to happen And you overreacting or acting a fool ain't changing nothing.
That's facts. That's facts. It's not changing anything. It never does. And then you got a stack of apologies you got to hand out. Like, I got to apologize. Oh, shoot. I forgot to apologize.
It's a waste of energy. Like, why not channel that energy into a space of positivity or a way to see things differently? And, I really learned those things too, because I feel like I realize my kids are always watching. Mm-hmm. And when I could be driving and be like, he cut me off, I could just or whatever the case, like they see all that. So and I really never really had that energy until I moved to New York, believe it or not. Like, something about the New Jersey, New York people they make the crazy come out of you. They're so crazy to you and you're like this, and then all of a sudden you just start fighting back.
You punch back. That's right.
Yes. So for me, I learned like, okay, Toya, be true to you. Like, that's not what you want to do. Like, someone's always watching, especially your kids. Don't take things so personal. Just, just keep it simple and keep it calm. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing for me because, like you said, our men are on our team, right? Like they're for us. Yeah. They're for us. And so we have to remember that in the sense of like, when something happens and you want to be like, and then you realize like, okay, let's find a better way to deal with that,
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd say that's my, that's my tool.
Oh my God. I'm laughing so hard because it chimes right into my tool, which was I've learned to trust Kwaku's intention. I've learned to trust his intentions and know that they are not ill. Like his intentions are good. Now his process may be well off from where I think it should be, what I would do if I were in his shoes, or the timing, the sequence could be different from what I would expect. But his intention, when I look at his intentions, and that's really how I start to measure relationships with people. The intention is good. We're not going to always sync up on process. But when the intention is good, then we have a grace for each other. Then we can be more patient and we can love each other through processes, and we can get to the other side. Because I know even if Kwaku tends to take what I consider side roads and I'm on the expressway.
That's me. That's why we're here.
Get on the on-ramp, Kwaku. Let's go this way. And he'd be like, I'm going to take the service road. I'm going to go there.
That's me all day. He will not listen. He'll take the back roads to the boys' school. He's all about the back roads. And I'm like, we're efficiency here. We're wasting 7 minutes.
Right. You can get on 17 and get there in 10 minutes, right? You know that, right? Okay. You don't want to do that? Okay. Like, and then you got to sit in the car and weather some of this sometimes. Like, it just is. So I know he's been planted in my life to teach me the next level of patience and also trusting intention and also knowing that I'm not always right. But my power tool is trusting and believing his intentions for me are always like God's best and highest. He really does have that. And when I know that, I can be patient, I can be loving, I can be open. Yes. And I think we can share that. Yeah.
It's so good.
So what do you affirm? Like, what is your marriage affirmation, Atoya?
Gosh, that's a good one. I would say my marriage affirmation would be marriage is a gift from God. My marriage is a gift from God. And then I would also say there's 3 P's that I use. It is prayerful, it is powerful, and it is passionate.
Ooh,
and you have to use those 3 P's. And sometimes it's about when you say them, figuring out which one is not working right now, right? You're like, well, it might be powerful and passionate, but I haven't been praying. Or I might have been praying and it's been powerful, but I haven't been passionate, right? So you're figuring out those 3 P's are my mantra, because it kind of helps me to reevaluate what I say and is it aligning, right? So
that's good. That's how you troubleshoot. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You can see which of the plugs are like, okay, that's not wired properly right now. We're going to need to get some more prayer in, or more passion in. Yeah, I love that. My affirmation is that my marriage is a landing space and a launch pad. Like I use it for both. Like
that's beautiful.
Safe on ground, and then when we're ready to rock it, when we're ready to soar, like we both have the space to do that too.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Yeah.
It's important because a lot of people take off, but they got to look back because they're not sure, right? So if you're launching and you're going, I'm good, right?
I know I'm good. Yes. That's and so he's beautiful. Good and we're good and we're going to do it together. Yeah, I love that. Well, I'd love to shout out you and Nate because I do think you're a spectacular couple and you're so loving and welcoming and just a really great family. Your structure is it's one that people can mirror. It's a good blueprint, you know. I love that.
Well, when you come back to New Jersey, you know, you have a place to stay. We go eat. We gonna have a good time.
Yes. I love it. Great girlfriends, we would love to know from you if you're married, what's your affirmation for your marriage? If you're single and you'd like to be married, what is something that you could say to affirm over your future relationship? Because I don't think it's ever too early to plant those seeds of love and connection, even if it's something that you're believing for or it's on your vision board. Like Atoya and I would love to know what some of these affirmations are. And then, you know, what are some things that you wish you had known or some things that you're learning in the process? So shoot us an email at welcome@thegreatgirlfriends.com and let's get some dialogue going. And Atoya, thank you for being here with me again today.
It's my pleasure. I adore you. I love you. And I thank you for inviting me on. I really do.
Oh my God, I love and adore you more. And our next conversation is going to be even more exciting, great girlfriend. So don't forget to join us next Wednesday and make sure you share with a friend. Peace.
Holla.
Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.